In this video, I'm going to go through the scatter trendline demo and the configuration that's required to create it. There's a fair amount of custom code that's necessary to produce the chart, including making use of the new clip feature that was added in 6.17. So let's get on. Okay, this demo is dual color and it uses clipping to achieve that. The coordinates for the trend line were added in version 6.18. So now we can draw a shape that uses the trend line coordinates in order to effectively cut the canvas in two. So we've got the top part, which is where the black tick marks are, and the bottom part, which is where the red tick marks are. And these are both clipped. So each chart, there are two, each chart clips to the appropriate section, top or the bottom, and to do that it makes use of the clip property that was introduced in version 6.17. Okay, so that's the chart. Let's scroll down to the code, and there are the libraries that are required along with the HTML code. There are two R-graph libraries that are required for this chart, the core library and the scatter chart library. There's no dynamic features or tooltips on the chart, so it's just these two libraries that we need. The canvas tag is pretty standard and is nested within a div tag container, and it's this container which has the blue CSS background color set on it. The first thing that you can see is that the data for the chart and the majority of the configuration has been separated out into variables. This is so that they can easily be reused by both of the R-graph scatter chart objects that go into making this chart. The data is self-explanatory and is just a simple two-dimensional array. The configuration object mimics what would normally be given to the R-graph object. And let's go through that now. Okay, so let's scroll down past the data, quite a bit of it, and there's the configuration that's been separated out. Oh, lovely. The text size is set to 16, larger than the default 12. The margins are set. The x-axis options are set. Notably, the left-hand side tick mark, which is normally off, is enabled. The y-axis options are set, and again, the bottom tick mark, which is normally disabled, is turned on. When they're both enabled, the left-hand side x-axis tick mark and the bottom y-axis tick mark combine to form a little cross in the bottom left corner where the axes meet. Just a little aesthetic thing that you may want to enable for your chart too. Then we have the trendline options. There's nothing particularly interesting here except for the trendline clipping option. This option constrains the trendline to the area of the chart where your data points are. So if all your data points are on the left hand side of the chart, then the trend line will be clipped to that area. This can be useful if you have multiple data sets on your chart in different areas and you want separate trend lines for them. There's a demo of this in the download archive. Then there's a few background grid options which turn off vertical grid lines and set the color of the background grid, and a couple of tick mark options which set the style and the size of the tick marks. That's the configuration that's cloned and used for both of the charts. Okay, now if we scroll down, this is where the magic happens. Okay, let's see. The next thing that's done is the first scatter chart is then drawn with no changes to the configuration. The data and configuration are cloned when being passed to the chart before the chart is drawn. The chart is drawn so that the trendline coordinates are generated and we can then use them to clip to the part above the trend line, draw the chart again, and then draw another chart which is clipped to the part of the canvas below the trend line. You can see there that the chords variable is set to the first set of trend line coordinates. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit more. There we go. The coordinates to enclose the area above the trend line are then created. These make use of the coordinates that are created for the trend line, the dimensions of the canvas, and a few hard-coded variables for the edges of the canvas. When put together, these create the shape that will pass to the clip configuration option. Then, in a similar way, the coordinates are generated for the shape that encloses the area below the trend line. Now that the coordinates have been created for the clipping, they're set on the first chart object, and the default color is set to red. When the canvas is redrawn further on in the code, the tick marks will be red, and the area drawn by the object will be constrained to below the trend line. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit further. Okay, that's the entirety of the code. The second scatter chart is then created. This draws the black tick marks that you can see above the trend line. The data and configuration options are cloned from the two variables that we created first in the code and used on this object. The clip option for this object is set to the chord's top variable that was created above, and the default color is explicitly set to black. Finally, the canvas is redrawn. This redraw is necessary, otherwise the clipping and color options won't be fully accounted for. And that's all there is to creating this dual color scatter chart. It shows you again that R graph charts can be customized quite easily if need be. If you want to use this technique with a line chart instead of a scatter chart, then there's a similar demo in the download archive called line-trendline dual color.html, or at least there will be from version 6.18 onwards. If you have a question about anything that you've seen here, or about any of the options, simply add a message to the rgraph support forum and I'll get back to you with an answer. See you in the next video.